I invite you to turn to one another and greet each other in your inherent worth and dignity. I'm Reverend Bob Renjilian. I welcome you here this morning to the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County on this beautiful sunny day after a horrid, dark, rainy day. I had been hosting guests here in this building yesterday for a board meeting of an organization I chair, and explained to them, since they weren't from here, this is Transylvania County, and those waterfalls need to be fed. And it's never a question of if it will rain, it's when it will rain. So they got a real treat yesterday with the thunderstorm. I have a few announcements this morning. A few are related to the dates and things that are going on widely in Unitarian Universalism or in history. Coming up starting January 15th through February 14th, it's something of a Valentine's for the World focus, 30 Days of Love, the Side with Love campaign in our movement. If you haven't gone on to the UUA website to find out more about that, you might want to do that and just see what each day might bring as a reading, a focus, anything else as it leads up to Valentine's Day. Also, though we never like mentioning him, a famous Unitarian from Buffalo, Millard Fillmore, who became President of the United States, January 7th, 1800 was his birthday, but he is known for the Missouri Compromise and other things that people say were problematic in the way he led the nation during times of upcoming strife. But yeah, he was one of those 5 Unitarian presidents of the United States, so I mention him. The Edict of Torda was issued on January 13 in 1568. For those of you who are not familiar with that, you should have signed up for the member orientation class today, because we'll mention it in that. But for those of you who want just the quick synopsis, that was when the King of Transylvania declared a toleration of all the religions that had been argued before him, and he did so because he realized he was a Unitarian, and therefore he was going to let everybody practice the religions that were argued before him as a possibility. And believe me, in 1568, that was rather rare for a king to do such a thing, but I don't think it's rare for a Unitarian to have declared that. We have the ushers could give you these song sheets. We'll also have the words on the screen, but if you're a music reader, you may want this for our final song. If There Ain't Room for Me. The choir has been struggling to learn this song this week. So they're sitting over there to help be ringers and give us a boost in it. We're going to not play it at the tempo that is marked because we have to learn it. If there ain't room for me, if there ain't room for you, if there ain't room for me and you, that ain't the space for me. And it ain't the space for we. So we're going to be singing that at the very end here. And then we're invited to the courthouse lawn this afternoon from 1 to 4 with the recent killing of the ICE shooting that you've probably seen on the news. I'm just going to say, expect something horrible every week and just prepare for whenever there's a rally. Now, personally, I looked up the Kent State Massacre this morning to read about it. Why? Because in the Kent State Massacre, there was a whole lot of nasty stuff leading up to that. I didn't know, for example, that they set the ROTC building on fire on campus. And then when the firefighters came, students grabbed the hoses and slashed them. All right, so it wasn't just innocent folks standing around and the National Guard being brought in. But each of the National Guardsmen who were charged was declared not guilty. In whatever happens, in what we see of what's happening with ICE, do not expect that it will be different. Even Spiro Agnew, the Vice President of the United States, had been heard to call it murder. And they were all acquitted. All right, so whatever we see happening in the United States right now, please be prepared that we are living in a country that has experienced things that we felt were wrong. Now, that led to millions of college students starting to protest and, in fact, stop going to classes. That began to change things. All right. This announcement's not a sermon, but just want to say I looked it up. You might want to look it up too. Save the date. The Dr. King activities are Monday, January 19th. That's a week from tomorrow. 4:30 p.m. gather at the courthouse. 5 begin to march to Bethel A. 6:30, the program with speakers is at Bethel A Baptist Church, just around the corner. And within our own adult education here, the Spiritual Explorers will start back up on January 22nd. And some of you are regulars with that. Some of you may want to drop in and see what that's all about. But there are usually close to 24 people circled up in this space to participate in that weekly Thursdays. Those are some of my highlighted announcements. Now I look longingly over to John to help lead us into this moment of worship in our prelude.
Thank you, John. That was very moving. My name's Ian Cowie. I'm the worship associate this morning. Glad you're here. Our chalice lighting are words written by Reverend Michelle Collins. Reverend Collins is a longtime UU minister, having served congregations across America. Let us read together our chalice lighting. This flame
burns for the courage we find when fear makes sense. Not the absence of doubt, but the choice to act anyway. We light it for those who speak when silence feels safer, and those who act when invisibility beckons.
Candles for joy and concern.
Very good. Here we go.
Thank you, sir.
I see we have one note left here, and I also have some to read from that were sent in electronically. One, Tara McDonald asks, please light a candle this Sunday for us. Her family got RSV, and it's spreading throughout. Everybody's sick. If anybody wants to help, she says, all I can think of is a porch drop-off of different kinds of interesting things to drink. They've got to hydrate, so yeah. And also a candle for Lydia Burke, whose health concerns flared up this week with a trip to the hospital. And from Nancy, a candle in memory of Renee Nicole Good and all who work for justice, with prayers for their family and friends. And we light a candle for all those things not yet mentioned. For you folks who are watching online, for the folks here in this room who may not be ready to share yet what it is that they're holding in their hearts, their joys or their sorrows. Spirit of love and life, we lift up these candles for all they represent, for people who are dealing with health issues, for the sorrow we feel of those who have been killed, for those who stand up for justice, for those things that Spirit of love and life are known in our hearts. For all these things we say, we love, we connect, we are a community to share. Amen. Blessed be. I invite you to sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Stirrings of compassion, oh, in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, giving life the shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our opening words today are from UU minister Andre Hodkins Camper. Blessed are we who gather with open hearts together in this space together. Blessed are we, the chalice lighters of resistance, justice, love, and faith. Blessed are we, the heretics, the outcasts, the walkers on our own way. Blessed are we, the border crossers, the refugees, the immigrants, the poor, the wanderers who are not lost. Blessed are we, the transgressors, the trespassers, the passers-by, the cause takers, the defiant, the complainant. Blessed are we, the hand extenders, the sign makers, the protesters, the protectors. Blessed are we, the trans women, the trans men, the non binary, the cisgender, the multigender, the no gender. Blessed are we, the friend, the stranger, the lonely, the hidden, the visible, the authentic. Blessed are we who rise in solidarity. Blessed are we who cannot. Blessed are we who do not. Blessed are we, for this is our beloved community, and this is who we are. Come, let us worship together. Our opening hymn is number 122, Sound Over the Waters. The words will be on the screen. Please rise.
Sound over all waters, reach out from all lands. The chorus of voices, the clasping of hands. Rise, hope of the ages, arise like the sun. All speech flow to music, all hearts beat as one. Sing, bridal of nations, with chorals of love. Sing out the war vulture and sing in the dove. With glad jubilation, sing hope for the world. The great storm is ending, the clouds are all furled. Sound trumpets of triumph for marches of peace. East, west, north, and south, let the long choral cease. Sing songs of great joy at the angels began. Give glory to children, to woman and man. Hark joining the chorus, the heavens resound. The old day is ending, a new day is crowned. Rise, hope for the ages, arise like the sun. All speech flow to music, all hearts beat as one.
Now is the time of all ages. Kevin.
Good morning. My name's Kevin, and I work with the kids here at UUTC. And today we are going to be learning about Fannie Barrier Williams. She is a well-known UU who worked to draw the circle larger in our world when so many people would like to draw the circle smaller and exclude so many. Well, when Fannie was born, she had a life much like kids might today. She was born in New York State, and she had siblings to play with. She went to school, she did her homework, she studied, did her chores at home, and ran around having a good time. She even went to church, a church she could go to. Her father was a deacon there, her mother taught Bible school. She was very talented, so she played piano and also was a very good painter and was just very vibrant and full of life. The one thing was different though with Fannie is that Fannie was born as an African American in 1855. And if at that time she had been born in the South, she would have been enslaved. But thankfully, she was born in the North. And Fannie wanted so much to go and to help make the world a better place and to give all her gifts. But everywhere she went, and most all the times, she was limited and called out and said, "You don't belong in an unfair world." So when she was in young adulthood, she moved to Boston to study music. But there she was told she could not join the music school because of the color of her skin. She also then tried to move on to Washington, D.C., where she was going to study painting. She was very talented. And they said, well, maybe if we let you in, but you would have to sit in class behind a screen so that others could not see you, to basically be literally invisible. And so she went on in life, and she could have been very angry, very sad about this. And I'm sure there are times she was. But she got too busy creating a better world and drawing that circle bigger so that she wouldn't feel all the heaviness and the burden all the time. So she got very active in what she did. She joined the Unitarian Church with her husband in Chicago. Her husband is Lang Williams, a prominent lawyer. And she got busy doing things like founding a hospital where anybody and everybody, regardless of what you look like, could be treated. She started a home for girls who were basically orphans and said, no matter who you are, come and live here. We'll take care of you. She started what was basically a homeless shelter for people who needed a place to live. She even helped found the NAACP with such luminaries and visionaries as W.E.B. Du Bois and Ida Wells Bennett and Frederick Douglass. You see, she got busy bonding together, being a ally for those who really need it. She even, in a time when she was still considered a second-class citizen, saw ahead enough that she worked with Susan B. Anthony to work for women being able to vote. And at the age of 65, she saw that reality come true, and women were allowed to vote for the first time. Now, she didn't live to see the day when the Voting Rights Act would be passed for all people in the world, or that African Americans might be even considered to be equal to everybody else, but she started it. She planted the seed that might help us all live to have a world that'd be more inclusive and welcome everybody. So let's remember this UU, and we will sing our kids out. Gus Renner, come on up with the chalice.
I love all the mail I'm getting this week, in the last couple of weeks. All the thank you notes from the year-end giving to all the charities that Christy and I were supporting. Because we usually give a big batch from Thanksgiving through the end of the year, just as part of our process of our generosity. And so we get a lot of great mail right afterwards. I want to say thank you to all of you who give through your pledges, who give through your time, your talent, your treasure, and your trust to this Unitarian Universalist congregation. What you offer to this place is greatly needed. And we have the envelope for Habitat for Humanity, and I invite Marcia Coe to come forward and tell us more from her firsthand experience.
Thank you, Reverend Bob, because I may have just gotten up accidentally without you telling me to come now, like I did for the first song that we sang. So Transylvania Habitat is designated this month for our charitable giving. It's an affiliate of Habitat International, and I don't know if you all know the history about Habitat International, but it was officially designated as an organization in the 1970s. It operates in all 50 states and in over 70 countries at this time. And this is in large part to the diligence and perseverance and love that Jimmy and Rosalind Carter, who shared that vision with us, and began. And their vision was for a decent place for everyone to live, a safe, decent place. We still don't have affordable housing in Transylvania County, but to date, over 59 million people worldwide have gained stability and financial independence through Habitat. Transylvania Habitat started in 1984 here in Brevard. It's an affiliate of Habitat International. Our county's Habitat continues the dream of home ownership for qualifying people whose mortgage doesn't exceed over 30% of their gross income, and who have a willingness to partner with Habitat with zero profit to Habitat. Now that's way better than what the government does, because there's zero profit to Habitat. The mortgages, donations, sales from Habitat's Restore on Augusta Road, and grants support the ability to purchase needed property and build more homes. Our affiliate reports quarterly to Habitat International, though, and once a year they tithe a certain percentage every year to go to another country that may not have safe housing and water. In 2025, Transylvania Habitat completed their first two-story stick-built home on West Main Street. That family will be closing hopefully this week, and we're really excited for them. And as some of you know and have donated to, our first duplex was also completed, and the two families that live there with their children are very happy in their new homes. Foundation has been laid in our cottage community, and the cottage community is currently called Hope Springs Cottages, featuring 1 and 2 bedrooms, cottages off of Curly Street, and that foundation has been poured. Additionally, our Hurricane Helene repair team has completed their first hurricane-related build and are working on another. As you know, some of the homes here in Transylvania County were severely damaged by Hurricane Helene. Our critical repair program has worked on over 80 homes in 1 year to date to make safety improvements for our community members in need of more safe and stable homes. They have built ramps and made modifications in the homes for accessibility to help our neighbors age safely in place. Thank you for all your generous support, everyone here in this room, both financially and for volunteering in our builds. Transylvania Habitat is very fortunate that a UUTC member here has provided affordable land, and that same member is now a member of the board of Habitat. Thank you, Nancy. As a longtime volunteer with Habitat affiliates around the country, I have been fortunate to interview, meet, and support new homeowners, work on policy and builds, and to witness the positive changes in the family dynamics. Thank you to my fellow social action team members who share the dream and who have qualified that as creating safe and affordable housing here in our county. And some of you who have to date worked on 2 builds with their spouses. Remember Jimmy and Rosalind Carter's legacy and their spirit of humanity and their tireless efforts. Let's build houses, not ballrooms. Thank you.
We will now receive the morning offering. Thank you, Loie. Thank you, Bruce. What's given in love, we receive with great joy. Thank you. Maybe you don't want to pray today. Maybe you're too upset. Maybe you're tired of doing it. I'm going to ask you to do it anyway. Maybe you don't want to meditate. Too hard to quiet your mind. Too jangly with all that's going on with you. I'm going to invite you to breathe deep and do so anyway. Spirit of love and life, we who are gathered here today come in many emotional states. We're blessed with being human. Sometimes that works out for us and sometimes it doesn't. We get sick, we get tired, we get angry, we get confused. We trip and fall, metaphorically or literally. Spirit of love and life, may we be guided to the best of what it is to be human. May we, in fact, know that we can lean on one another when there are times when we need that. Spirit of love and life, I remind you again that we're just human, and we're actually very obstinate about leaning on each other, and we really, really, really need to pray to be humble enough to do that. May we also take our blinders off, see to the edges of the circles of life that we're in, and recognize that all around us there are those for whom we would be allies if only we were aware and awake. May we be able to get past what is keeping us from seeing, keeping us from hearing and perceiving. Spirit of love and life, I do not pray lightly on this matter. May we really, really want to know what's going on with our neighbors. Spirit of love and life, I also recognize that there are some who are hearing this prayer today and said, this didn't reach me. To those who are ill, to those who need comfort, may the love that flows in and out of all living things come to those who need comfort. These, the prayers of our hearts and the meditations of our minds, we hold now in the silence. in the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say, Amen. Blessed be. We welcome John and James and their music.
This song was written by a wonderful songwriter, John Fromer, who left us way too early. The song was written almost 20 years ago, but it's never been more needed and more pertinent than it is today.
We need the Buddhists and the Baptists,
The Quakers and Catholics too,
the atheists and the agnostics.
Muslims and Jews,
We need people of all nations,
all colors and all creeds to put an end to war,
put an end to greed.
Gonna take us all to make a change, take us all to win the peace. Gonna take us all in the streets, gonna take us all,
Gonna take us all. We need the immigrants and the unions,
the Greens and the gays,
the hip-hoppers and beboppers,
and women for equal pay.
we need farm workers out in the sun,
Homeless out in the rain,
seniors and
soccer moms for the world to become humane. Gonna take us all to make a change, take us all to win the peace. Gonna take us all in the streets, gonna take us all,
gonna take us all. We need your friends and your neighbors,
the poets and the painters,
the socialists and the anarchists,
the pacifists and the humanists,
every color and community,
people black and white and brown. At times we won't see eye to eye, but we'll stand on common ground. Gonna take us all to make a change, take us all to win the peace. Gonna take us all in the streets, gonna take us all, gonna take us all, gonna take us all, gonna take us all.
Marge Piercy, the poet, has this poem called The Low Road, and there was a little snippet of it in our Soul Matters packet this month. And I thought, I want to see the whole poem, not just a snippet. So I went and looked up the whole thing. It's called The Low Road. She starts out with a question. What can they do to you? Whatever they want. They can set you up, they can bust you, they can break your fingers, they can burn your brain with electricity, they can blur you with drugs, you can't walk, can't remember. They can take your child, wall up your lover. They can do anything you can't stop them from doing. How can you stop them? Alone, you can fight, you can refuse, you can take what refuge you can, but they roll over you. But two people fighting back to back can cut through a mob. A snake dancing file can break a cordon. An army can meet an army. Two people can keep each other sane, can give support, conviction, love, massage, hope, sex. Three people are a delegation, a committee, a wedge. With four, you can play bridge and start an organization. With six, you can rent a whole house and eat pie for dinner with no seconds. and hold a fundraising party. A dozen can make a demonstration. 100 fill a hall. 1,000 have solidarity and your own newsletter. 10,000 power and your own paper. 100,000 your own media. 10 million your own country. It goes on one at a time. It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again and they say no. It starts when you say we, and you know who you mean, and each day you mean one more. Sermon today entitled, We Resist With You. We resist with you. And I advertise it by saying we draw the circle wide also means listening to the people at the margins who could use some allies. And specifically I ask, does our religion help or hinder? Well, our readings have been pretty provocative. I'm not sure, however, that the way in which we do religion always helps us get out and up and doing what needs to be done. I really am not sure. I was talking to some allies in the LGBTQ arena, and I said, you know, I was in a Unitarian Universalist congregation in the late teens, trying to get people to come to a workshop about the needs of LGBTQ people, and so few people wanted to sign up for it. And I started asking around, and there was something underlying it. And that Unitarian Universalists had celebrated either, depending on what state they were in, by vote or by edict of the Supreme Court that, well, gays have marriage now. So there's no more problem. Yeah, talk to the trans people today. Yeah, there's no more problem. There's equal marriage now. Or the UUs who were so excited to see a multiracial man, Barack Obama, become president of the United States. And so, well, like, there's no racism anymore. Now, I don't say that this was being said by Unitarian Universalist ministers or the leadership of the Unitarian Universalist Association, but apparently we had not been saying enough to say this was a step, a hope, something that maybe people hadn't imagined years before, that we could have equal marriage laws, or we could have somebody grow up in the United States in a situation being raised by a single mom and his grandmother to become president of the United States regardless of the color of his skin. That we could have these things. You know, his grandma was Unitarian, right? Barack Obama's grandma that raised him. And when she died, he asked the Unitarian Universalist minister in Hawaii to officiate the sermon, the memorial service. It's real close. 1 degree of separation. Our religion and saying there are possibilities for the worth of every person and the idea of justice and equity and compassion in our world and all of this. But somehow our religion doesn't seem to be enough to keep us engaged as allies constantly. And I said in the announcements period, I'm expecting that we will have something to announce every week for which there is a protest. There are a couple of quotes that were in the packet that I want to read to you. I know not even the 66 people who get the packet don't read it. So go back to it if you don't believe me. This quote's in there from Samara Powers. You're only as safe as the people you are willing to protect. You are only as safe as the people you're willing to protect. And Chris Hedges, the author, He wrote a book that I read a while back called War is a Force That Gives Us Meaning. I think that was the title of it. How we just like suddenly have meaning and purpose when we're at war. He said, revolutionaries know that Immanuel Kant wrote, if justice perishes, human life on earth has lost its meaning. And Chris went on to say, and this means that, like Socrates, we must come to a place where it is better to suffer wrong than to do wrong. Now, that's a complicated piece here, being an ally. I think about the people who are on the front lines protesting anything that's going on. Are they suffering? Are they suffering to the point of death? Yes. Is that better than doing wrong? Yes. Is it what our religion teaches us? I don't want you to go out there and die. I don't particularly preach about how you need to go out and suffer. But there's a certain extent to which, in order to be an ally, you are understanding that you are only as safe as the people you're willing to protect, as that quote said. There was a hymn I almost used, but it seems unsingable in its tune. I don't know, maybe it isn't. We picked an even more unsingable one for closing the service. But it's by John Andrew Story, who lived from 1935 to 1997. And he wrote, and this is kind of relating to the United Nations, for far too long, by fear divided, we have settled with the sword quarrels which should be decided by the reconciling word. I get that. I like that. Now the nations are united, though as yet in name alone. United Nations? Yeah, right. And the distant goal is sighted, which the prophet souls have shown. May at last we cease from warring, barriers of hate remove, and earth's riches freely sharing, found the dynasty of love. I think it's like foundation, founding the dynasty of love rather than a dynasty of war and strife. That hymn in our hymn book has the aspirations in that we would have on our shores a building called the United Nations Building. And all the nations come together, and we would not have war anymore because we would, in fact, find the ways to speak with diplomatic words rather than bullets. But we still have war. Unitarian Universalists could work more together in our congregations and across our congregations to fight authoritarianism, to have a call to action for democracy and freedom. September 12th this past year, the declaration that came forward from the General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalists was published. And I'm going to read the whole thing even though I only have a couple minutes left. This is a action of immediate witness, which means we voted to immediately start saying this is our purpose now. Let's do this. It's a vote of the General Assembly which has no binding on any Unitarian Universalist whatsoever. In our general Unitarian Universalist way, we invite delegates to go and do the business of the General Assembly and make declarations and make things that sound good, and then we can say, well, I don't want to follow it anyway. The Hendersonville Church has just started implementing this resolution, and our social action team is taking it up this week in their meeting to see how we can move ahead with it. Here it is. Because the flaming chalice, the living symbol of contemporary Unitarian Universalism, recalls the compassion and strength needed to aid Jewish refugees on the eve of World War II, and has come to represent helpfulness, sacrifice, and enduring faith in action. And because, as Unitarian Universalists, we bind ourselves to one another through covenants, sacred promises made in response to the profound gift of life, held as shared care and mutual accountability, long central to religious communities, and born with the reverence and holy aspirations through the spiritual discipline of love. Because in this commitment we walk paths once taken by those who, from the earliest days of this great and troubled republic, pledged themselves to liberty, a liberty not of unbounded freedom, but of responsibility freely embraced, the necessity and constraint of a just law, a moral check against abuse of power, and the civic work to sustain fragile institutions. Because this is no ordinary movement, but a time that tries the soul, a time that calls us to reaffirm the values we, as a faith, have declared our own, holding fast to justice, through which we dismantle racism and systemic oppression, inclusive democracy, and yes, the dream of full, accessible, radically inclusive communities where all may flourish. Whereas drawing the circle wider requires a covenant of more profound love that reaches towards that impossible possibility to love our neighbors as ourselves, to cherish the fragility and dignity of our shared humanity, and to act not from outrage or self-righteousness, but from hope, tempered by courage and deepened by conviction. Whereas the pillars of justice, equity, democracy, and the rule of law are under siege from authoritarian assaults on the justice system and constitutional protections, to the erosion of due process, freedom of speech and press, and the values of diversity and inclusion, from the unlawful deportation of immigrants to the weaponization of state power to silence dissent. Whereas autocratic actors are wielding institutions like the Department of Justice, law enforcement, the IRS, and federal contracting, not for the common good, but to intimidate and punish their political opponents and ideological challengers. Whereas the corrosion of democracy is fueled by dark money and autocratic actors seeking secret advantage, the enrichment of officials and the special interests at the public's expense, and the dismantling of independent oversight and capacity for community accountability. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the 2025 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, call upon the UUA, its member congregations and congregations, as appropriate, to cast off the cloak of isolation and transcend our differences, both within and beyond ourselves, to defend the guarantees of just law, constitutional integrity, equal justice, meaningful separation of powers, due process, and the freedoms of speech, press, and assembly by nonviolent civil society action, including our vocal support and exercise of these guarantees and our witness, by legislative action, advocacy, and judicial action, including our support of impactful litigation, and to take bold action activating our faith, not only to resist, but also to build a nation that honors the dignity, needs, and values of all its people, one where the beloved community may thrive. And more specifically, may it be resolved that the UUA, with UU ministers and lay leaders, explore how to become a catalytic force, working actively with leaders of other faith traditions to bring common strategies, events, actions, and messaging, to bring a strong multi-faith presence that promotes our common values, counters the autocratic actions and messages of elected leaders, and helps build a powerful pro-democracy movement and guides us to a common dream where we can all thrive. Notice they didn't say survive. Thrive. And be it resolved, sorry, only 5 more paragraphs. And be it resolved that UU congregations adopt a congregational resolution that affirms their collective commitment to protect and strengthen freedom and democracy, and to resist, through peaceful and principled means, encroachment by authoritarian forces seeking to strip citizens and non-citizens of their rights, voices, and power to hold leaders accountable. And contribute contribute to a vital pro-democracy movement by designating or creating a democracy action team, or whatever our UU community chooses to call it, composed of congregation members that will build on existing infrastructure, guidance, and support by engaging with UU organizations such as Side with Love or Unitarian Universalists for Social Justice or our Unitarian Universalist State Action Network and other UU local congregation networks, as well as other local, state, and national organizations, religious groups, and allies, such as League of Women Voters, ACLU, Poor People's Campaign, Common Cause, Protect Democracy, the Brennan Center for Justice, Democracy Forward, etc., to work collaboratively with current congregational efforts to support immigrant, racial, LGBTQ+, environmental, and other related social justice. All are impacted by authoritarianism, and provide needed education and training opportunities to engage the congregation and keep members safe and protected in nonviolent protests and non-cooperation actions. Organize and communicate pro-democracy congregation actions and events that align with local grassroots efforts to protect and assist those directly harmed by injustice, and to promote, support, and participate in national and local rallies and nonviolent actions that are consistent with our UU values and principles. And finally, to provide a faith-based presence to local pro-democracy actions and events. Nobody has said that Unitarian Universalists are brief and concise. Amen. Amen. We have a call before us. I believe it is time to listen to that call, debate it, wrestle with it, find the ways in which it tells us to stretch a little bit, find the ways in which we might be uncomfortable with following through. We read about Fanny Barrier Williams from Kevin today, in the Wisdom for All Ages. What if you were busy the way she was busy? What if we joined with Hendersonville and Asheville and Greenville and Spartanburg and Franklin and any number of regional area UU congregations and the North Carolina Justice Ministry and say, we are not just one little flame glowing in Western North Carolina, but we are a force. What if? What if? Now, to ruin your mood, our song sheet, If There Ain't Room. And you know what? We're going to try this a couple more times this month too, because it's worth it. It's worth it. And I like this. I asked at some point with music, difficult music, right? But I love this t-shirt. These are difficult times. All right, please rise as you're willing and able, and let's give this a try. If there ain't room for me, if there ain't room for you, if there ain't room for me and you, that ain't the space for me, that ain't the place for me, if there ain't room for me and you. People talking inclusivity, inherent worth and dignity. You gotta make room for this thing to roll on. 'Cause if there ain't room for me, that ain't the space for we. You gotta make room for this faith to roll on. River can go if the stream that ain't the space for me. Siding with love is the way for you and me. People who love make room. Siding with love, and there will make room for what they come for me. Siding with love, make room. Widen up the circle, make room. That is the space for me and you. That is the space for me and you. You're gonna make room for me. Yay! Wow. Our benediction is adapted from the words of Reverend Dr. David Breeden. We reopen this circle. We leave this circle of care to dream, to envision, to embody, to achieve the compassion we dream, the justice we envision, the dignity of each in an ever-growing circle of love and justice. Amen, and blessed be.